sitting in this room and I'm looking around, man, and there's like killers in there, right? High-level martial artists. And I said to myself, I'm like, oh man, this room must be the deadliest room or the safest room I've ever been in, man.
Hello and welcome to the All Things Performance Podcast. We got a good one today. I am joined with Godeyvio Castro of the Awakening Warriors organization. G, how we living, man?
I'm good, my
you
brother.
all right, man?
I'm good, man.
Good to see you, man.
Be here with
good
you,
to see you. So, man, today's podcast is awesome because we're actually in an MMA octagon. We're in your neck of the woods. This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is what you do, right?
Yes, sir.
And so just a quick bio on G. G is just very well versed. Obviously, you have a background in the martial arts, a background in yoga, therapeutic. You have a master's in therapeutic martial arts, which we're going to get into, right? You train with Taoist monks. You help people with self-defense, men, women, and children. You've been over, several continents, helping thousands of people. So we're going to get into all of that. We're getting to get into all of that. But before we begin, Awakening Warriors, right? Awakening Warriors, that's the name of your company.
Yes, sir.
When I look at the definition of a warrior, right? This is somebody who is brave, somebody who's experienced, a soldier, a fighter.
Yes,
so talk to us a little bit about the name and what went into Awakening Warriors. What went into that?
So a couple years back, man, Awakening Warriors was something that came to me during meditation. I feel that as a little boy, I've always been inclined to the warrior energy. I remember growing up in the 90s, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. One of my biggest dreams as a little boy was to be a Kung Fu master. I mean? And although I'm not embodying the Kung Fu school, I feel that I actually am living in that energy, living in the energy of being a teacher. And I feel since a young boy, I've always carried and embodied the presence and the energy of a teacher. And martial arts has allowed me to do that. So a couple years back, when I started diving deeper into my meditation practice, I got into this really deep meditative state, and the name just came to me, Awakening Warriors. And it was very, very clear about being an adjective and being in action, awakening. Notice it's awakening and not awakened, because I feel that we're in a constant process of awakening. And even my symbol, the symbol of Awakening Warriors is this one right here, which is two swords pointing upwards.
Nice,
and
like
the sword pointing upwards defines the action of, because when you point a sword down, it means the battle has been finished. So awakening is just that. It's your consciousness, the awakening of the mind, the awakening of your body, the awakening of your purpose. So they got 12 universal archetypes. And each one of us have these archetypes. We have, like, to name a few, you got the archetype of the warrior, you got the archetype of the teacher, you got the archetype of the king, the lover, the magician. So for example, there are times in our life that we have to embody the king energy or the queen energy. You might be the king of your household and how you rule your kingdom, right? There are times that you're in the energy of the lover. That's when you're with your significant other and you're embodying that energy. Then there's other times that, maybe you're the magician. The magician is the one that goes inward and does the healing, does the recognition of things that he or she needs to improve on. So we can embody all these energies, but one of the energies that was really significant for me was the warrior. And the warrior, I feel, is something that's going extinct nowadays, because I humbly believe that people are lacking direction and people are lacking the desire to move forward, and there's a lot of sense of comfort. And as you know, man, nothing grows in comfort. Yeah. So the whole Awakening Warriors is basically that. I really specialize in that archetype of awakening the inner warrior for everybody.
I love it, man. I'm really big on definitions, and for those of you who are joining us, I'm with Godeyvio Castro of Awakening Warriors. You might hear some mitts popping in the background, but we're here, man. We're in the gym. This is where we get the work in, right? So just embrace that. I'm really big on definitions, because if you don't understand definitions, you can't understand concepts.
Facts.
And if you don't understand concepts, it's hard for us to talk about hierarchy philosophy. Right. And so in order, like you said, something about comfort, right? You cannot be a warrior, an experienced soldier or fighter, if there's no battle.
Exactly.
There has to be a battle.
Right.
And I think a lot of times young people, even just people in general, bro, like for what you just said,
Yes, sir.
they don't want to fight. People don't want to fight. People want it comfortable. We have air conditioning.
Yep.
We got refrigeration.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We got shade.
Right.
We got Amazon Prime. Get to your house in 2
We got
days.
internet.
Internet, you know what I'm saying? Like we got Uber Eats. You know what I mean?
Right,
like come on, man. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I think that at the end of the day, you know, understanding like what you said in terms of the definition is huge, and there has to be a battle, and we're going to talk about that more. You know, for me, I work with a bunch of athletes, right? And you know, I believe that performance is on a continuum, and a lot of people, they don't define things, right? Performance is the execution of a task or a function, and when you look at like what I do, I work in the realm of mental skills, mental health, mental performance.
Yes, sir.
Right? We're all on the continuum. Sometimes, you know, we slide down, sometimes we slide up, but we're all on this journey of being the best version of ourselves.
Right.
With you, right, it's almost the same. And I want to get into that because you are working with athletes, you're working with mothers, you're working with young children, you're working with broken men, right? Who are, you're training them in self-defense, and you know, they're getting physical, right? They're letting out aggression, but at the same token, there's another side of you as well. That's real chill, real calm. You mentioned meditation earlier. I want you to talk about your continuum and how you deal with not only your stuff, but how you help other people deal with theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, my brother. Thank you for that. You know, that's a deep question, man, but I really got to say that I attribute all my success and my balance in life due to the martial arts. You know, a quick little background story. My mom was a professional ballet dancer in South America. And, you know, my spiritual name is Godeyvio.
Godeyvio.
Godeyvio, that's my spiritual name.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means he who's seen God within himself, that sees in others. That's what that means.
Say that again, bro.
He who's seen God inside himself, that sees in others. That's Godeyvio. And, you know, since I received that name, my name has drastically changed. But that's my spiritual name. Now, you know, my government name was given to me by my mom after a famous ballet dancer. And I share that because my mom was so passionate about ballet that she wanted me to be a ballet dancer. Now, a typical Latino dad, he was like, heck no, my son is not gonna be a ballet dancer. So they put me in martial arts since I was 5.
Yeah.
And because I studied martial arts at an early age, I really dove into the whole physical component of it. But it wasn't until I was like 17, 18 that I discovered the spiritual component of Kung Fu and martial arts. And in that, I was fortunate to blend in and learn different teachers and different teachings and different things. But I contribute all my success to the martial arts because I started at such a young age. It really helped me to understand my physical body, my emotions in my body, my thought process, and kind of learn how to navigate that. And that's why I'm really passionate about teaching these skills, because I firmly believe that if people tap into that warrior energy, if people tap into what the body is capable of doing, you're able to tap into something deeper on a mental level, on an emotional level. And I made a video about this, but let me give you an example.
Please.
You know, when you look at someone who's sad, depressed, their physiology reflects that. You know, they're slouching, they're crying, you know, you could just see in their body language that they're not feeling good. So it's to tell you that emotions affect the physique. What if we use the physique to affect the emotions? And that's why we move all this energy. And the ancient Chinese principles were Tai Chi Chuang or Qi Gong, which means energy. So it's the movement of energy. So emotions are basically energy in motion. So when you move this energy, you're moving the emotions. So through physical movement, you're allowing to channel, whether it's positive, create positive energy, or dissipate and release negative energy. And that's how we're able to help people. So
Yeah, no, I love it.
Huge for me.
I love it, man. You know, and even when you start getting into the science of exercise, the psychobiology of exercise, right? Exercise and moving, whether it's lifting weights, whether that's doing stuff in your yard, whether that's engaging in the martial arts, it improves mood, it improves emotion, feeling, just just your presence. It improves all of that, and so the two are connected for sure. You know, you've been to 4 continents. You've impacted literally thousands of lives. From what I know and understand about you, over 6,000 people, indigenous peoples, people in different places in life and stuff like that.
Yes.
You train different types of people from different various backgrounds.
Yes.
And so you're a people person.
Facts.
Right?
I love people.
And when you start breaking it down, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say is the basal constituent, the thing that you see in everyone? Like, man, I've worked with this person, but man, everybody's like this. How would you answer that?
Well, that's crazy that you say that, man, because as I evolve as an individual, I attract. It's like your vibe attracts your tribe, you know? Like, there was a point in time when I was going through my life coaching program that I was really honing in on addictions. You know, I was trying to understand people and their addictions. Guess who I started attracting? People with addictions. Then when I started studying spiritual coaching and I was really diving into guiding people spiritually, I started attracting people who needed spiritual guidance. Lately, as of late, my niche now has turned into helping brothers 40 years of age or older. You know what I mean?
Really?
And it's an interesting fact, man, because it's one of the things that's really soft. I have a soft spot for that because I lost my dad when he was 46, and I'm 40 now, right? So my dad passed away when he was 46. When he passed away, I was 23, and I had just started honing in deeper into my spirituality. And you know, my father passed, and now in the position that I am now, helping these 40-year-old, 50-year-old men, I'm like, wow, I'm saving someone's father.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like a really, really emotional and passionate thing about me currently right now, because, you know, I wonder to myself, how am I going to be in life, or where am I going to be in life in my health at 46 when my father passed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm really adamant about that. But currently right now, I'm attracting a lot of brothers of that age group who the common thing is maybe they're very successful in their career, but they're lacking emotional support, or they're going through some trauma healing, or they're dealing with what the world considers toxic masculinity, and they're just trying to become better.
Yeah.
So that's as of late. But across the board, man, I really think that what I attract is people who want to connect with another human being from a vulnerable space and just want to improve themselves, not just physically, but more on an emotional level. And I'll just say this. I feel that I use personal training, boxing, martial arts as an excuse to really do the helping, which is more on a emotional, mental, life coaching level.
That's your ministry.
Yes, sir.
It's your ministry. It's just like some people are, God has given each one of us gifts, talents, and abilities. And in that, the way we make him smile and the way that we bless others, and largely the way we earn an income, is by helping people. And for some people it's martial arts, for some people it's cooking, for some people it's singing and playing a sport, whatever the case may be. And you are just using the vehicle of boxing, martial arts, and all of that to help people. And so that's awesome, man. You know, one of the things when I used to interview athletes, when we would get ready to draft athletes, I would ask the question, and I'm going to ask you this question as well. When you start looking at the makeup of somebody's life, right? We're sitting here right now, two grown men. Oftentimes in our lives, I call them critical life events. There are things that happen that once they happen, they catapult us either to the left or to the right.
Right.
They change the trajectory of our life forever. And sometimes those critical life events are negative, right? It could be the death of a family member. It could be, us getting in trouble with the law. It can be something great, right? The birth of our child.
Right.
It could be, getting a scholarship to go play sports in college. I want you to talk to us about two critical life events in your life, both negative and positive, that have led you to where you sit today.
Yeah, that's amazing, brother. Off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is having a child at 16. I was a baby with a baby. So at 16 years old, I had a son, and that forced me to man up. It gave me, the mindset to really focus and become the provider that I needed to at 16. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything. And luckily, I had some support from my parents and from family, but it was a struggle, man. A lot of my boys would be hanging out, and here I am, 16, 17, 18 years old, bringing my little baby with me to hang out with my boys. But nonetheless, that forced me to man up. It forced me to mature a lot quicker. So I would definitely say that it was quote unquote a negative that became a positive, because obviously it helped me in so many ways. But I would say that was definitely a very crucial, critical point in my life that was a big life change for me. And then the other one, on a positive note, that really shaped my life is me being intentional in my early 20s or so, when everyone that I knew in my neighborhood was turning up, out going clubbing. And don't get me wrong, I did some of that stuff, but I was very intentional to, when everybody was partying on Saturdays and Friday nights, I was hitting up conferences with these spiritual teachers.
Okay.
The monks I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And we would go to these conferences and we would go to these retreats. And in that, I was intentional about putting myself around conscious men. And these men became my teachers. They became my mentors, and they started shaping my mindset. And I contribute a lot of that, a lot of my growth to those two events.
Wow, that's powerful. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to hit on is, so there's an irony, right, with you. Like it's crazy because you have such a decorated resume, and there's an irony with you. And one of your master's degree is in therapeutic martial arts. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Therapeutic martial arts. And it feels good to knock somebody out every now and then. It feels good to knock a bully out. It feels good when you're in a tournament. I got one of my boys, man. He's competing today in a BJJ a tournament down the way, right?
Yeah.
It feels good to get that pin, to get that win. You know what I mean? But talk to us about that irony, right?
Yeah.
Martial arts, aggressive, intentional, right? Imposing my will on another person,
right? And
then the therapy, the therapeutic side.
Yeah, I love that question.
Talk to us about that, man.
I love that question, man. It's and it's funny because we're on camera, man. So if I may put my hands on you and just show you something.
Yeah.
So this is this movement that is used for hurting and for healing.
Okay.
So simple. Let's say someone's dealing with a migraine headache, right? There's pressure points in the body. We study acupressure or acupuncture in Chinese medicine, right? If anybody is dealing with a headache, they'll an acupuncturist or acupressurist will tell you, certain parts of the body that you point to release tension. So here's one, my brother,
right,
if I may.
Do I stand up?
No, you're good. So
just don't snap my neck, bro. Don't snap my neck, dog.
So right behind the ear, just feel this, my brother. Just feel that. So you see that nice relax right there, and just feel this pressure right there.
Ooh.
You see that? And now open your jaw, and then look up. There you go. And just feel that. Relax your head. Relax your neck. Boom. You see that?
Hey, bro.
But you see
I
that?
feel like I was about to tap out.
But that's where the bone joint together, and there's a lot of soft tissue right there.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a headache, you take your index finger and you just push up, and you feel the pressure, the jaw releases, and boom. It's very therapeutic, it's very healing.
Yeah.
At the same time, you hit somebody with an eagle fist right there, boom, you're knocking him out.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I still feel that, bro. I still feel that right now.
So the same knowledge, the same wisdom that we learned in the martial arts to inflict pain could also be used to heal.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in, a lot of people, we live in an instant gratification world. Everybody, I get a bunch of people be like, hey man, I want you to teach me how to choke somebody out and break somebody's arm.
Yeah, that's me, right? And let me know how to...
let me go to the nitty gritty. And it's good to know that, but nonetheless, there's another component to martial arts. If you study the history, the main purpose of martial arts was for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was considered a cultivation system where, you use your physical body, kind of like in yoga. Do you know the most important position in yoga?
No.
Is Shavasana, which basically means corpse position. So you go through these asanas, which is movements, warrior one, warrior two. You go through all these movements for like an hour or two to lay down. And that's the most important. So you go through all this building of energy and movements and mobility to lay down and really hone in with spirit, hone in with relaxation. So in ancient times, people practice martial arts in order to cultivate and connect to a higher source, to spirit. And the root essence of martial arts was for that, and its whole philosophy. But in the world we live in today, most people just want to focus on the physical,
Yeah.
on the nitty gritty. But I really decided to, hone in on the whole component of martial arts, not just the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the energetics.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. It's powerful that you say that. Right now in human history, at this point in human history, I believe that there is such an emphasis, an attraction, an engagement with martial arts, with MMA, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with boxing, that, as has ever been in the history of just modern day society. I remember, when you start looking at, when we were growing up, Karate Kid, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Miyagi, you know what I'm saying? I mean, after we watch karate movies and Kung Fu, what are we doing? I had 3 brothers, bro. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? We practicing all the moves, even like WWF, like WWE
From the
now.
top of the couch.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but now there's more of an emphasis and engagement and fascination with MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, all this than has ever been. Why would you say that is?
Man, it's really because, we're in a technological age, man. We have access to all this information. I mean, the grandfather of MMA is Bruce Lee. And the reason being was because Bruce Lee came from a traditional background of Wing Chun, right? Came to the United States and he immersed himself in boxing, in Taekwondo, in Judo, in different martial arts. And then he realized, he's like, man, there's too much fluff in this traditional martial arts. A lot of this stuff is not applicable. So I'm gonna delete this, keep this. Look at that martial art. It's got this. Let's get rid of that. That kick makes no sense. That punch makes no sense. You know what? Let's get the juicy, nitty gritty stuff and create my own martial art. And that was the birth of Jeet Kune Do. And Jeet Kune Do is based on a combination of different martial arts. And that's the birth of MMA. And the story about Bruce Lee is that, back in that time, only Asians were allowed to practice martial art because it was one of their greatest tools, you know what I mean, for their spiritual growth and also for their self-defense. But he was the one that set the tone to teach whoever wanted to learn. And now that because we are in the technological world, man, we have access to this amazing art of like jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean, ground fighting. It's it's one of my 3 staples, which is boxing, jiu-jitsu, and Muay Thai. And then, I have a Kung Fu background, so I sprinkle my Kung Fu and then dabble into a little couple of different things. And I feel that people gravitate towards that because, again, it's the sense of confidence that you gain. And I see it all the time with children, man. When I teach this to children, man, after a couple of sessions, after a couple of weeks, you see them just like, you know what I mean? They speak a little clearer. They look at you in the eye a little more, And that same thing happens to us adults, man.
I love it, man. I love it. When you start looking at, the science of toughness, right? So my background is in mental toughness. That's what I did my dissertation in, mental toughness, just looking at these high-level performers. And when you start looking at some of the research, we have a model called the 4 C's model of toughness. And so if you don't mind, what I want to do is I want to go through those and I want to hear how you use those in your day-to-day, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm open to it, my brother.
Okay, so the first C is what we call commitment, right? Basically being able to see something to completion to the very end. So how big is commitment in what you teach and who you are with your students?
Man, commitment is everything, brother. I mean, like, you could, and I see this all the time, man. I could have a person who's got a lot of talent, a lot of skill, has no commitment. You know what I mean? I'd rather take a kid who has no skill, no talent, but has commitment, has discipline, has heart. So that's an example, man, how commitment is huge to me because, a lot of people go to, for example, the word Kung Fu. The word Kung Fu itself means achievement. It means hard work. So you could be a carpenter and have Kung Fu. Whatever carpentry, whatever design you created, I could look back and look at it and be like, wow, whoever made this cabinet, that's Kung Fu. That's a master that did that.
Yes.
You went to school, right? You decided, you committed to this level of education. That's Kung Fu. You committed yourself to it. And Kung Fu, like for example, in our system, in our Shi Wu Meng Kung Fu system, we only have 5 sashes. And in the 5th sash, more or less, it takes you about 11 and a half to 12 years to complete.
Whoa. You said 5 sashes.
5 sashes.
So that's like the
Belts.
belt.
Yeah.
And the last one takes you 12 years.
12 years.
Dang, bro.
12 years. So, you know, people go to school
Yeah.
for like 7 years to become
Yeah.
a doctor or what have you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Law school, martial arts, 12 years, 10 years. You look at any high-level jiu-jitsu black belt, ask them how long you been doing jiu-jitsu. They'll say 10 years, the average, 10 years.
Wow, man.
So that's commitment. So absolutely.
So there ain't no online black belts?
Negative. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, but they get exposed real quick.
Hey, that express lane, you can't do that express lane, dog. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, so that's awesome. So commitment is huge.
Yes, sir.
The next thing that we're going to talk about, and you mentioned just a little bit earlier, is confidence. So then the second C is confidence.
Yes.
So confidence is the level of certainty that I have in someone or something. So how important is confidence in what you do on a daily basis?
You mean confidence from myself or confidence amongst my students?
Both.
Okay, cool. I think that confidence, man, you know, I was just having this discussion yesterday. I think that from a parent's perspective, I think that's the greatest gift that we can give our children is confidence. And confidence usually comes from structure, right? Knowing that, you know, at the end of the day, no matter what happens in their day, they're going to go to the same house and they're going to have, you know, a routine. You know, like the military, in martial arts is very militant. You know, like the word martial means war.
Yeah.
You know, martial arts,
Yeah.
the art of war.
Yep.
So it's very, very militant in that sense where it's very structured. So I feel that confidence comes from structure and love, man. You know what I mean? Like one of the biggest things that I try to teach my brothers in their healing journey is, and I give this analogy all the time, it's like, let's say little Billy, right? We got little Billy, he's, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. Little Billy takes a ball, accidentally breaks the house window. Conscious dad would say, hey, little Billy, you're a good boy, but what you did was bad. You're a good boy, correct the behavior. Conscious dad, right? Unconscious dad says, hey, Billy, you're a bad boy. So now he's shaming the boy and making him feel that there's something wrong with him. No confidence. So a lot of the quote unquote broken men, and I really don't want like saying that because in that case we're all broken.
It's facts though,
you know
bro.
What I'm saying?
It's facts though, man.
Yeah, so you know, in that sense, you know, a lot of the brothers that are doing the healing, man, they're healing a lot of shame in the sense of who they were or who they are. And you notice that across the board, they're lacking the confidence.
Yeah.
So to me, confidence is everything in the sense of the way that I embody myself and the way that I present myself is really due to the way that I was brought up. And again, I contribute that to the martial arts where I'm able, let's say I have to do a certain level of test and I have to perform in front of my Kung Fu masters and I can't get it. But just having someone in my life that says, hey, I believe in you, or no, Godeyvio, you can do it. Don't stop, don't quit, you can do it. I'm like, wow, he believes in me, so I could do it. And then you try, and then you achieve. You're like, wow, that builds confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence. So confidence is everything, my brother.
I love it, man. So we talked about commitment, confidence, and the next one is control, right?
Wow.
Control is the third C. So when you start talking about control, this is your ability to not only emote feelings of confidence, feelings of, being present, but also you're able to withhold certain feelings as well, right? Of disgust, anger, shame. So this is my ability to basically, again, I hate to use the definition with the word, but control the situation. How big is that, man, in a discipline such as the martial arts, to be able to be like, man, I have all this power in me and I can really tear this dude up right now, but I'm not going to. I have all this power in me right now to really just, and I have every right as a father to discipline my child, but I'm gonna withhold, you know what I'm saying, my frustration with my kid that just damaged the, $5,000 computer, whatever the case may be. Talk to us a little bit about control,
yes, sir,
man.
And I'll get personal, man. I'll get nitty gritty with it.
Yeah.
So, control from a perspective of my understanding is like having the ability to apply 2,000 tons of pressure on something, but choosing not to, right? And like you gave that example of like, you can destroy someone, but choosing not to. One of the beautiful things that I've learned in this journey, man, I've been in rooms with 2,000, 3,000 martial artists in a room for like martial arts conventions. And I remember I went to one in Utah a couple years back and I'm sitting in this room and I'm looking around, man, and there's like killers in there, right? high-level martial artists. And I said to myself, I'm like, oh man, this room must be either the deadliest
room
or the safest room I've ever been in, man. You know what I'm saying? And the cool thing about that is that one of the main things that we learn in martial arts is to never underestimate anybody. Because you look at the slinky, shortest, skinny dude is like a jiu-jitsu black belt or a Muay Thai champion. You know what I mean? So we never underestimate anybody. And at the same time, you know, control is huge, especially nowadays. Everyone has access to weapons. Man, you don't know what people are going through, man. You know, it's like people are enraged and full of emotions, man. They're just waiting for something to happen for them to just release all that. And quite frankly, man, control is huge because you don't know what people are going through, man. But in my personal journey, when I was in my early 20s, I got into a fight. I got my ego, you know, I let the ego get the best of me. And this is actually one of the pivotal points. I didn't mention it because you only said to mention two, but there was a point in time, there was a brother who I thought was a friend of mine, and we ended up having an argument, and we no longer became friends. And then he started running his mouth. I'm from the hood, man. I grew up in New York City, so you know, street code. I had my rep to to keep up with. And you know, I saw him, and I was like, yo, what's up? We're gonna fight, and blah blah blah. He pulled out a knife on me. He pulled out a knife on me. I was like, oh snap! All right, cool. And I walked away. Later on, I saw him again, and then we got into it. We got into this physical fight. I was, you know, a martial artist still. Obviously, I've been doing it my whole life, and I broke his ribs. I left him, I believe from what I heard, I left him deaf from one ear. It was really bad, man. I just lost all control. That resulted in me going into jail, getting a felony charge.
So you got popped for it?
Yeah.
Dang,
you know what I mean? And it was something that really molded me and shaped me, because when I went to jail and I came out, I realized the pain that I had caused in all my family, you know, and I realized how one decision that I make can impact everyone. It's like a ripple effect, right? But it also didn't allow me to get jobs because of this felony charge. Right? And that forced me to become an entrepreneur. So I was able to take the negative and make it into a positive. But obviously now I'm a more conscious man, but I definitely teach, even the way that I teach the kids that I train, and even my own children, I teach these skills, but I always say, hey, you're only using this if you're in a competition, or if it's like martial arts, you're only doing this in a self-defense. Don't become the bully. You know, because control is everything, man.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I love what you said though, man, about I'm in this room, and this either gotta be the most deadliest room or it's the safest room. But two things can be true at one time. So that's powerful, man. And so the fourth C, so we talked about commitment, confidence, control, and the fourth one is challenge, right? You and I can look at a situation, right? We can see, you know, this paper, which it's, you know, and it has words on it, right? And so if I hold it up here, you're seeing a certain, you know, series of words in paragraph, sentence form. I'm seeing a certain, you know, a series of words in sentence, paragraph form. It's the same paper, but you have a completely different experience. Your perspective is completely different. And so challenge speaks to this idea of how do I look at tough situations? Some people look at them as, dang, here we go again, as a problem. Whereas somebody says, you know what, I can create a business out of this. I can create an opportunity out of this. I can create a living for my family out of this quote unquote problem. So how do you look at challenge in not only your life, but the way that you train others? Yeah, man, that's powerful, man. That's where the life coaching comes into play, man, because one of my biggest go-to quotes is that life is happening for you and not to you. Let me repeat that, man. Life is happening for you and not to you. And that's the whole perspective, man. It's a powerful saying, man, because you're literally understanding or you're looking at the lens, like you were mentioning, the perspective that all your challenges, all your circumstances, your upbringing, your traumas, whatever level it is there for your greater good. Because honestly, man, you know, when you look at your favorite superhero or you look at your favorite character in a movie, like I'll give you mine. Mine is The Gladiator, right? I love that movie. Great movie. Russell, top. Oh, look, I'm getting goosebumps, man. It's one of my favorite movies. No doubt. Right?
And what makes it my favorite movie is that I see the humanity in the brother. I see his challenges. I see the struggle. And guess what? I see myself in that main character. But now, if I was watching a movie where the dude is just showing up, he's got the perfect life, the perfect kids, the perfect wife, the perfect bank account, the perfect everything, I can't connect with that. You know what I'm saying? So it is our challenges, our vulnerabilities, our humanity that allows us to connect with everybody. So I say that, you know, one of the ways that that I educate people on challenges is really understanding that the cup is half full, not half empty, by changing your perception of things. And it's like Gandhi said, you know, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Change, yep, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's just like a muscle, man. You know, you can go, wake up and boom, bump your foot on the bed and drop your glasses and break the glasses and be like, oh man, it's gonna be a horrible day. Or you could just look at it and be like, yo, smile, all right, what's the bigger lesson here? God, life, universe, whatever you wanna call it, and just choose to carry your energy in a positive energy.
I love it, man.
You know?
I love it, that's powerful. You know, we're talking about toughness, martial arts. Once again, we're here with Godeyvio Castro of Awakening Warriors. And you know, one of the things that I wanna talk about is toughness. Right? What would you say is the biggest misconception about being tough, both physically and mentally? Right? You kind of hit on it a little earlier, a little bit, but what would you say? This is a two-part question. Like, what would you say is the biggest misconception about being tough? And then the caveat, the comma, the semicolon. Especially for males. I want you to hit on that, man.
Man, you're getting into it, my brother. I appreciate the question, man, like I said, because that's what I'm passionate about, you know, helping brothers. You know, the biggest misconception, man, is that toughness is like you have to flex, man. And again, I am so grateful in my life, in my upbringing, that I've been exposed to these martial arts because I'll give you an example, man, and not to disrespect anybody out there, but when you look at people in the gym, right, you know, and I'm at a gym now, right, so the irony of this is that, you know, dudes that are trying to stroke their ego or they're trying to portray a certain level of strength, they walk around like this, right? You look at a martial artist, they're humble, small, right? Like if you met my boxing coach or my kung fu master, they'll be like, hey brother, how you doing? But those hands can kill you, man. You know what I mean? And you know, I dealt with brothers, you know, who have been, you know, I created a safe space so these brothers communicate with me and everything's confidential. But I'll speak on with this one example. This one brother, man, he went through the foster care system, right? And he never had his mom and his dad, and he's already in his 40s. And when he was around 7 years age or so, his foster dad used to throw him in the bathtub with ice water and whip him with a wire. Right? Now, guess what? As a grown man, he's walking around, don't mess with me, right? But he's scared inside, bro. He's scared inside and hoping that no one picks a fight with him because then he's gonna be exposed. So there's this external sense of toughness that people parade and walk around, but that's all a show, man, because true leadership, true strength comes from within. Look at the wolf. The wolf doesn't lead from the front, he leads from the back. You know what I mean? The alpha wolf, he lets all the other wolves go on and he surveillances everything and makes sure that he's the protector. If they're getting attacked from the back, he's the first one to handle it. He's the one to oversee everything. So true leadership comes from a place of love and humility, and they do it from softness. And to piggyback on that, in the same sense of martial arts, let's say you come in with a strong punch, make a fist, man, bah, you come in, bah, hard, right? Bah, hard punch, right?
Hey, I know you set me up for something.
So you see what I'm saying is like when yang, right, meaning force. When the person is yang, I become yin. I become soft. You know what I'm saying? If you're a truck coming at me, why am I gonna stand in front of the truck? Just move out of the truck's way. You know what I'm saying? So the softness component about it. So toughness is really an internal component, more so than a physical, like, you know, aggressive way.
No doubt.
If that makes sense.
You know, it's crazy, man. You're talking to me about this stuff. You're talking to the people, man. And I went to a Krav Maga class, and we in there, you know what I'm saying? You know, and I'm in there just, all right, we're going to do this. I'm like, bah, bah, and they paired us up, right? So I was paired up with this one cat, and I'm like, yo, this dude is kind of weak, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, good job, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Good job, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm like, yo, this cat, you know, I'm like, why is this dude just, absorbing punches and
Right.
I'm like, I need to get somebody stronger.
Right.
Man, I messed around and found out that Buddy has been doing this for like 15 years.
Right.
I was like, man, I was with a killer.
Yeah.
This dude's a killer, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, I got stories for
So
that,
so
bro.
when you saying this, like, oh hey buddy,
Yeah.
like those hands could kill.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about, because when I left that room that day,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I was over here trying to be tough with
Right.
a real tough guy.
We're a real tough guy, man. I'll tell you one example on that, brother. No names. I can't mention no names, but
yeah.
I was fortunate to train a SEAL Team 6 brother. All right, we're talking about SEAL Team 6.
Yeah,
So if you
no
know anything
doubt,
about
no
SEAL Team
doubt.
6, this one brother, man, he, I swear to God to you, brother, if you met him, you probably would bump into him at Sprouts and Whole Foods and never guess who he was, man. And super humble, super chill,
Yeah.
super intelligent brother. But yeah, man, I was in the presence of an assassin, if you
Yeah.
will, man. And
Yeah.
they all embody that confidence and that softness, man.
Yeah.
So back to that question, man, toughness, man, it's internal.
Yeah,
It's definitely
and
is.
you answered it, because I was like, hey, comma, like for men, what does that look like? And I think you hit it, man. Like you answered it, because that's what we all experience, especially those of us who are, involved in these alpha professions, and your performance is everything, right?
Yeah.
When you start looking at the biggest lies, what would you say are some of the biggest lies that are being told right now, to not only adults but to children coming up? Now, what are the biggest lies, whether it's in media, whether it's in the world, online, that you come across, man, in your work, like that you find yourself continually having to deal with?
Wow, man, that's definitely a interesting question, man, because I do feel that we live in a world where we live in a system that's specifically designed to take away people from connecting to their higher self. I really truly feel that. I feel that there's systems set in place in our education system, in our political system, that is really making people just become good followers, good employees, rather than become critical thinkers. So with me, specifically with my kids, it's been a learning situation. So with my son, who I had at 16, man, I would get calls from teachers when he was in grammar school, calling me like, hey, Mr. Castro, your son said that you guys don't celebrate holidays, and you guys don't believe in Christopher Columbus, and on February, Black History Month, your son is questioning why we're only studying Martin Luther King but not Malcolm X. You know what I mean? And a lot of that was because I was instilling in my son that the education system is designed to keep you in a certain box, but I need you not to think like that, but I need you to just think
Just
for
to
yourself.
think, period,
To
yeah.
think for yourself and
Yeah.
question and be a critical thinker. And with my daughter, I remember, she would come home and she would tell me, she's like, Dad, they're talking about 9/11, and I'm like, you just got to be careful in what you say, because what I'm educating you here at home, a lot of people won't agree with you, and a lot of people will fight you and disagree with you on that. So just be conscious of what you're saying. But as long as you know that in your heart you feel that you're educating yourself with multiple resources. So I think that to answer the question is that we have to be very mindful, not only as parents but even as grown adults, about what we're allowing, what are we feeding, because we eat not only with our mouth, we eat with our eyes, with our ears, with our senses. And from the moment we wake up to the moment we jump into our cars to go to work or what have you, we're being bombarded with billboards and TV and mass media telling you what to think, what to eat, how to dress, how to look. A brother of mine, and I just got back from India, but a brother of mine who went to India a couple years ago, he went to another part of India and he was blown away. He's like, yo, bro, there are billboards of people bleaching their skin. They want to be white. And I'm like, oh, wow. Because again, the majority of the world was conquered by European nations. You know what I'm saying? So there is that stigma that, if you're melanated or you're colored, you're not beautiful enough.
Yeah.
So, my daughter, her grandfather, meaning her mom's father, is a Black Puerto Rican brother. So she was very
She's
dark
dark.
skinned.
She's
She's very
dark-skinned.
dark skinned.
Yeah.
But she struggled a lot with that. And as a father, I'm like, oh, I gotta, make sure that I put specific things around her. Like, for example, India Ari. I love India Ari. Great musician, great artist, but I would put that conscious music around her. Another, instead of getting her, Barbies that didn't look like her,
Right.
I would get her Barbies that did look like her.
Yeah.
Because that sense of like, you know what, I'm included.
Yeah, you see yourself
You know
in
what
in the output there.
Exactly. So, to pretty much, answer that question again, brother, I feel that one of the biggest lies is that we don't have the resources to tap into our power. And our power really comes from, one, the education that we receive at home, and also from detoxifying ourselves from the BS that's given to us by force, which is, whether it be our education system, our political system, or just the systems that are set in place.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. We just had a podcast not too long ago with a historian, a black historian, and I would love to connect you guys, because his whole thing was, when you look at the lens of history, all of us are included in history, right? Like everybody's, diverse backgrounds, stories, it's all a chronological, objective look at what happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
The conquerors write history, man.
yeah, that's right, and that's kind of actually what we led with. It's just like, unless the lion has his own historian, the tale of the hunt will always be told by the hunter.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, man, like, no, it's the whole thing. And so I think that's powerful. So we do a little, as we get ready to close, we do a little session or a section at the end called reverse psychology.
Oh, wow.
So if you coming up, or if the athletes and the people that you work with had an opportunity to talk to a mental performance specialist, a sports psychologist, about some of the things that are, hot and heavy on your hearts, what would you ask a sport and performance specialist? What questions would you ask? And give me one or two, man, and I'll fire back with, what I got.
Man, that's deep. So, in other words, what would I ask?
Yeah, what would you ask me?
What would I ask you? Wow, that's a great question, my brother. Man, there's so many things, man. I guess something would be along the lines is like, what can a person do to overcome their limiting beliefs that have been bestowed upon them based on their upbringing or based on their society?
Limiting beliefs. I love that question. Whatever you feed will grow. Whether you're talking about a plant, a puppy, or a human being, whatever you feed will grow. So what you have to do is you have to get, the first thing I would do with that player or that person was say, hey, listen, let's list these things that, keep coming up, I'm not tall enough, I'm not white enough, I'm not black enough, I'm not educated enough, my mommy and daddy didn't go to this school, or we're not from this country. Whatever those are, list those out. Are they serving you, right? Yes or no? No, they're not. Then we have to start doing the work of not feeding it anymore, right? It doesn't matter. Like, God made you who you are for a reason. You are a male. You're a black male. You are a Latin male. You are a white woman. You are a white female. A biracial, whatever the term is that people are using these days. Because I ain't even gonna get into that.
Yeah,
right?
that's a whole conversation.
That's a whole different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because in my family, bro, like you look at my family photo, Christmas picture, they're as dark as me and they're as light as, you know what I'm saying? These letters right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and everything in between. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you have to figure out, all right, what are those beliefs? Let's list them out. Let's acknowledge them. Let's put them out there, right? And are they serving you? Because if the answer is no, the question is, why are you feeding it? Stop feeding it. Stop feeding those limiting beliefs, because whatever you feed will grow. You look like a python, right? I got a bunch of buddies, man, from Florida. And they tell me, like, one of them was telling me, he goes, man, a couple years ago, he told me a story that blew my mind. He goes, Joe, there's like a python epidemic. And so he starts breaking down how cats would go to stores and buy these pythons. And what they would do is they would feed them, right? So they start feeding them, little rats, whatever. And then all of a sudden, them suckers start getting bigger. So now you got to feed them bigger things. You got to start feeding them like cats. Bro, true story.
Right.
Like I know of stories where cats cats. I'm being, no pun intended.
No pun intended.
But cats are literally buying cats from Craigslist.
Oh, wow.
Putting them jokers in black.
Yeah.
Hey, Peter, don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you the story. Yeah. Putting them jokers in trash bags.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, doing whatever they need to do. And they feeding the snakes.
Yeah.
To a place where these snakes are becoming bigger, massive,
right?
And the next thing on the menu is you. You the next thing on the menu. So when you start talking about limiting beliefs, what are you feeding?
Yeah.
Because if it's not serving you, you need to stop feeding it. And growing things, or like again, whatever you feed will grow, and if you don't feed it, the inverse will happen.
Right.
They start to die off. They start to perish. They start to become weak.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And so and one thing I'll also say is that it is easier to form a new habit than it is to try to stop an old one.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So start doing something new in place of that.
Right.
And it'll atrophy and it'll, bleed away.
Absolutely. Wow.
What other questions?
Man, that's deep. That's deep, brother. I mean, what other questions can I say? I think, one of the biggest things for me is, limiting beliefs, because I personally, I'm in that journey of healing my limited beliefs in my upbringing, and I really educate people on the same, so that they could tap into their greatest potential. Yeah. Another big thing that's always been something massive for me is spirituality, and not to get into, like the dynamics of what religion and what spiritual practice, but what would you say is a great way for a person to kind of discover what their spirituality is? Let's say, for example, there's some brothers and sisters that I meet who maybe had bad experiences in the church, whatever spiritual belief practice, but they had a bad experience, but they still feel like they want to connect with the higher source, but because they've had bad experiences, how would you guide them, or what would you say to them in order to guide them to get back into that?
That's a powerful question. One of the things I always, so in my book, I have a book called Own the Pieces, the Heartfelt Guide to Mental Performance. And one of the chapters in there is the 8 questions of mankind, right? And when you start talking about spirituality, like we're all connected beings, right? We're not just flesh. You know what I'm saying? A dog on the street is just flesh. A dog can't think deeply like you and I can think, right? A dog can't, make this sign or these chairs, right? And regardless of what you believe, we're all, as mankind, we're all trying to pursue or chase, or we actually think about our spirituality in some way, shape, or form. And so I call it the 8 questions of mankind, right? So the first one is like, who am I? That has everything to do with, my identity. Where am I from? Heritage. Right. What can I do? Potential. Why am I here? Purpose. Right? How shall I live? Morals. Where am I going? Right? That has everything to do with destiny. Right. Do I even matter? Self-worth. That's 7. I'm trying to figure out the 8th one. There, but there's another one in there. Read the book, you find the other one. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where we're always asking internally, even, to go back to the very beginning of this podcast, when you were talking about your name and the origin of your name, right? I believe that if you are on the search for, higher thinking, we just did a podcast the other day with a pastor, and I asked him the same question you just asked me. What if you went to a church and you got abused? There's a lot of dudes, you know how many thousands of people went to church and got abused? Sexually, emotionally, physically, right? With the different things that have gone on. You went to church and people were quote unquote hypocrites, right? You went to church and you gave your money, you supported, but you were sitting here like, man, where's all my money going, bro? Because I don't see it, right? Like whatever the case may be, I'm a firm believer that if you are in search of God, or you are in search of something high, like you are going to run into God himself. That's what I believe. And so we are connected beings, and we don't live disparate or separate and apart from working out, lifting weights, going to work every day. There's something more. And once you start with even those questions, you start to say, man, why am I here? Like, why am I here? You start to think about that, right? You start to tap into, man, I'm here for a purpose. Like I was created for a purpose, right? And so that's how I would answer that, man. So
appreciate that,
deep questions, man. As we get ready to close, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You've been given the mic. You're in front of 10,000 people, and you got 5 minutes to encourage the people out there who are listening to you, who've come to hear you speak. And you can talk to them about whatever you want. How are you encouraging those people? What are you telling them in these 5 minutes?
Man, that's deep. That's deep because I always felt that I had to get my message out into the world, and that's why, you know, I gave you the thanks for giving me an opportunity to be here with you, because I feel that we all have these gifts that we were born with to give birth to, you know, and that's exactly what I would say. I would remind people that every single one of you has a purpose. And even though you may not know your purpose, you may not know what exactly you're to do in the world, it's just walk in the light. Just walk in the light. And that light means live your life with consciousness, live your life with integrity. As long as you feel in your heart that you're doing the best that you can with what you have and you're not hurting anybody, that's what I define as walking in the light. Just walk in the light. You know, you're gonna face a lot of challenges, a bunch of choices, and then check in with yourself. The most powerful tool that we have is our intuition. If you can rationalize with your heart and your intuition, and those three are in alignment, then you know you're on the right path. So whenever you're faced with a decision, know, are you taking the easy way out or the difficult way out? And typically the difficult way is usually the right way.
Yeah.
Right? So don't take the easy way out. Take the difficult path, because that's the path least followed. There's a phrase in Spanish, sociedad. Sociedad means society.
Society, yep.
Suciedad means dirtiness.
Dirty, yeah.
So don't follow the sociedad that is the suciedad. You know what I mean? The spiritual path is the narrow path. It's the path that least people want to follow. Follow that path.
Yeah.
Because that's where you align yourself with your greater purpose. And if you, like I said, if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know what your mission is, that's fine. As long as you do the things that most people don't do, because it's easier to destroy something than to build something. It's easier to quit than to keep striving.
Yeah,
it's
man.
easier to take the easy way out than to take the difficult path. So what I say to people is take the difficult path, because, you know, it's like when you're climbing a mountain, if you took a bus or a helicopter to the top, you get to the top, all right, cool, I'm on the top. But if you struggled and you climbed and you challenged yourself and you got there with your hard work and your efforts, when you get to the top, man, that view is so much better, because through your greatest challenges, your greatest triumph. And that's what I say with everybody, you know, don't take the easy way out, take the difficult path, really get to know yourself. And one of the biggest things that currently I've noticed across the board is that people stop doing what they find joy in.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people put their so-called happiness on others. Like, oh, my children bring me happiness, my spouse brings me happiness, my pets bring me happiness. But outside of animals and outside of other human beings, what brings you joy? Ask yourself that question. What brings you joy? And do that, because as we start getting older, we stop doing the things that bring us joy, and we become servants to just everyone. But again, you can't give to others what you don't have for yourself. So I would say that, man.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. Drop the mic on him. Drop the mic on him. Once again, this is Josiah Igono of the All Things Performance Podcast, joined with Godeyvio Castro of Awakening Warriors. God bless you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace.